It's Tuesday. That's right. We're going to do that Tuesday this week, unlike last week we did Wednesday, but it's Acrepro Farm Group buy sell. My chance to talk some football with Tom Dienhart, which I always enjoy. But I want to thank our good friends at Acrepro Midwest Farm Group. When it comes to land sales, it pays to have experts in your corner, like Tom Dienhart. That's a good thing for me. But with decades of experience in Indiana agriculture, no one knows the market better. Whether you're buying, whether you're doing a 1031 exchange or simply buying and selling farmland, your local Acrepro agent will walk the land with you and ensure the deal is done right. So visit acrepro.com or call 765-775-6502. Kyle Spray is the guy you want to call. And Kyle will be on the sidelines because Purdue is returning home after a 4-week hiatus. He's a part of he's not actually on the chain gang, I don't think, but he's one of the guys that manually writes down all the plays so that if they have a complete meltdown electronically, they can go back and figure out where stuff is. And Kyle's a good guy to do that. That's why you ought to think about acrepro.com if you're in the business of farmland sales. All right, Mr. Dienhart. Yes, the Boilermakers are in a funk right now. It has a lot to do with who they've been playing. Maybe that's true. Certainly, the Michigan Wolverines proved that in their the Wolverines 41-13 win over Purdue. But buy sell is it's the question we kind of go through every week. But I think we're going to looking back now down the gauntlet of the next 3 games. I looked at the Michigan game, watching it on television, that there were some good things. There were some things that got me to believe that this isn't a lost cause, but I'm going to have you measure that, whether you think it is 2 out of 3. Can they win? Are you buying that they will win 2 out of 3 down the stretch?
Yeah, I think that's very doable against these opponents, Alan. We've got, of course, Minnesota at home, at Northwestern, then Indiana at home, but real quick, back to that Michigan game. It sounds funny to talk about silver linings from a 41-13 loss,
no doubt.
But I think there were some things to take away on a positive nature, and Ryan Walters talked about some of those on Monday as well. The defense continues to play pretty well. Of course, Kyrdran, Jenkins, and Nick Scourton.
Right.
They didn't miss a beat last week going against an elite foe in Michigan in a very hostile environment. Held Michigan to, I think, 110 yards rushing, Allen, the lowest total, I believe, in 2 years. And offensively, right, 13 points. I know that one touchdown came very late, but still counts, right? That's the most points Michigan has yielded all season. So, and again, this is a very compromised Purdue roster right now, especially on offense up front, the offensive line, the 2 tackle spots. And then the wide receiving core, Allen, I mean, let's be honest, man. There's just nothing there. And to squeeze out 13 points against that defense, probably the best in America in that environment, was impressive. So, yeah, here we are, Alan, 2-7. Bowl games out the window, but you still want to finish with a positive taste in your mouth if you're Purdue. And these are all probably toss-up games. And, yeah, I mean, to think I'm definitely buying the notion Purdue can win at least 2 of these 3. They could sweep them all, Alan, but I got some bad news for you, too. They could lose them all as well, obviously. Yeah. And all 3 of those teams have had their moments this year for sure.
I wanted to ask you, and this isn't a buy-sell question. Mershawn Rice gets the biggest play, one of the biggest plays against Michigan's pass defense all year, if my numbers are right. Now, admittedly, the Wolverines haven't played anybody yet. Well, that's another issue. But still, what an amazingly, here's a guy, and now he's out for the year. If you've covered a lot of college football, this is a guy that's got snake bit. And I don't really know what kind of kid Mershawn Rice is. He's worked hard to try to get back on the field. He gets back on the field and gets hurt. And now he's out for the year. Wasn't that crazy?
Yeah, it was. Like a 43-yard catch. And, of course, like you said, he got hurt. And what a summation, a one-play summation of Mershawn Rice's career. I think he was a 4-star recruit from Reynoldsburg, Ohio. Always filled with potential. He looked the part getting off the bus, 6'2", 200-pound wide receiver, and has never seemingly stayed healthy for any appreciable length of time, has just flashed here or there. And that was maybe the ultimate flash last Saturday night in Ann Arbor with that catch that you talked about, the longest reception against Michigan's defense this year. And And then he's out. And then he's out.
Yeah, now.
He came and he left as soon as he showed up. So, yeah, it's unfortunate. You know, Abdur-Rahman Yashin, another wide receiver filled with potential, can never stay healthy. Sounds like he could miss, I think, a fourth game in a row here as well. Again, at this wide receiving core. And then, of course, he lost the kid in the preseason, the Florida Atlantic transfer, Jamal Adrine, supposed to be their best wideout this year. So, and then don't forget about this too, Alan. Brock Thompson was supposed to be playing this year, remember?
Yeah.
And
that would have made a difference, I think.
Yeah, if you have Brock Thompson, the Florida Atlantic kid, I mean, that would have made a whale of a difference. So, you know, I know Hudson Card takes a lot of criticism, but he doesn't have many really top flight wideouts to throw to, and that offensive line is patchwork at best.
Well, you just watched the game again on TV. I thought, as I said, we talked offline, Todd Blackledge, who I thought was pretty instructive. You know, wasn't overly negative. He just said, you know, he's got some happy feet. There are times when he leaves the pocket too fast, but I can understand why.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes perfect sense. So, and again, we're not railing on Purdue's offensive line. It's just the reality of any line where you got to put one of the best centers in the Big Ten out to tackle and back to center just to make it work, makes it really hard. You know, it makes it really, really hard. So that part, I think, is something that you just have to be able to fix if you're Purdue. And
yeah,
we'll do a buy or sell of how many offensive linemen they'll take in the portal, guys that can patch it. But we'll do that down the road. All right, you look at Minnesota coming to town. PJ Fleck, always interesting. The Golden Gophers have got a defense that has been good. Hudson Card has yet to throw, has not thrown for over 200 yards in the last 3 games, which I haven't done my research about when that has happened to a Purdue quarterback, let alone Hudson. Will they get to over 200 this weekend against a good defense in Minnesota? And Minnesota's got one of the better, pretty decent secondary for the most part. You know, what do you see there?
Yeah, I talked to the voice of the Golden Gophers this week, Mike Grimm.
Yeah.
A guy I've known for a long time, worked at KMOX in St. Louis. And yeah, Mike says they got their secondary, they got a safety named Tyler Newman.
Yeah.
He thinks they're all Big Ten, a real good cornerback in Justin Wally. So they'll be hard pressed. The defensive coordinator there, Joe Rossi, does a good job. And yeah, 3 games in a row with less than 200 yards passing for Hudson Card. It almost seems incomprehensible a Purdue quarterback can go that long without having a 200-yard passing game. He only has one 300-yard passing game this year, Alan. I believe that was against Syracuse. So you got to go way back to find that. And but you know what? I haven't said all those less than glowing things about the aerial game. I'm going to buy the notion that the Card is going to throw for over 200 yards. I think maybe Purdue gets some balance. They can run the ball a little bit. And I think that could create some openings and loosen up that Minnesota defense where Card can finally crest the 200-yard passing mark.
You remember last year, and it was a big win for Jeff Brom and company, really kind of turned things around in some ways. Devin Mockabee had the big run that kind of set up that last touchdown and gave enough of a cushion to get that win in their first win in TCF Bank Stadium, right? So it's still called TCF Bank. Yes, I think it is. But weather's supposed to be good on Saturday. We're talking about that at 51 degrees, sunny, at least at this point in time, at least according to my phone. But I had another one. I'm going to switch gears back for you, Tom. Put yourself in the history book. Kyrdran, Jenkins, Nick Scourton, are they the 2 best bookend defensive linemen? Would you buy or sell them if you had a choice between them and Anthony Spencer and Ray Edwards? Now, I know those guys are both pros. So that's kind of a silly thing, but they might be. Are you buying or selling that they are the 2 best bookend D line, in essence, D ends? I know that they play other positions, but certainly guys who put pressure on quarterbacks. Are they the best 2? And then you go back to Chike O'Keefer and Roosevelt Colvin in the 1998 Alamo Bowl, about as good as it ever has gotten from Purdue's standpoint. Are you buying that they? Let me say, do you buy that they belong in that conversation?
Yeah, we'll just call them edge rushers since they're outside linebackers, edges. And I think it's Huntington Bank Stadium now, Alan.
That's right. I know TCF Bank.
But I digress. I'm at the
It is
guy for Huntington Bank. But anyway, I'm certainly buying the notion they belong in that conversation without a doubt. I mean, Jenkins certainly doesn't fit the profile of an NFL edge rusher, barely 6 feet tall, 260 pounds. But he plays like he's 6'6", 300 pounds. Just relentless, Alan. Just relentless. He's got another year of eligibility too. I'll be interested to see if he comes back for a 5th year. There's going to be schools coming after him too, Alan, with their checkbook open. And then Nick Scourton, that guy is, coming right out of the box. We were told he was going to be special. Comes from the Texas A&M area, College Station, Bryan, Texas. Really blossomed late in his college career. Mark Hagan loved the guy. We saw little dribs and drabs of him as a true freshman last year. Just a true sophomore now, and has really blossomed. What a tandem. They push each other out in competition. They have a real fun banner and competitive edge between each of them that drives both. And there's no doubt they belong in the conversation now. We've been blessed, haven't we? I guess this Denton defensive ends thing really started in the Tiller era. And again, you talked about 1998. I talk to Brock Speck every now and again. Well, we'll go down memory lane, He talks about that Alamo Bowl against Kansas State. And Roosevelt, Colvin, and O'Keefe. My God. And the phrase he has for Roosevelt Colvin as a player. Talk to him about Roosevelt Colvin sometime, about the work ethic he had and the type of player he made himself into. You can see how his kids grew up in that environment, how they were probably pushed by their dad. And Colvin was a guy sort of like Kyrdran Jenkins, right? He was an undersized end or edge rusher who ended up playing standing up as a linebacker in the NFL, but he kind of is doing what Kyrdran Jenkins is doing now. Physically kind of the same guy. I think Rosie's still taller, but man, it's special guys, and there's no doubt Jenkins and Scourton belong in any conversation about great Purdue defensive end tandems or edge rusher tandems.
Yeah, you think about the numbers and how it compares to the Big Ten. I think it was you or Sam King, maybe it was Sam, that said at the press conference on Monday, these guys, I know Purdue's 2-7. I get that, but these guys belong and need to get some level of mention at the All Big Ten level. May not be first team. It's hard to make All Big Ten anymore.
If you're 2-7, especially, or 2-10, or whatever, 4-8,
yeah,
hard.
Yeah, there's no question at that, but they have been certainly a positive side, as has Dylan Thieneman. From that standpoint, has really been fun to watch, and I think at that will be a storyline that it was interesting that Ryan Walters said. Of course, Ryan's going to say that, though he really wasn't asked. He just kind of said, "Well, they're both going to be back next year. They both will be back." When he kind of talked about it was kind of in passing about Scourton and Jenkins, and of course, you're right. In the NIL world, it's you got Scourton, who's like, I know for a fact he's got friends here and some families that he's befriended on a legal basis, that he is very tied here, and that part's good. But boy, you got a guy that's in the shadow of Texas A&M and whatever. We're not going to start trouble here. We'll see what happens. Jenkins too, the guy that the world can change, and you hope it'll test Ryan Walters' mettle to keep everybody that he wants on the roster back. Certainly from that, will be an interesting thing. All right, let's look at the broad stroke of the Big Ten. It should be a great game, I should say. Penn State, Michigan. We've seen my first buy sell is are you buying that Jim Harbaugh will be we may hear by the time everybody watches or listens to this, there may be a decision from the Big Ten. You buying or selling a Jim Harbaugh will not be suspended before this weekend?
I'm selling. I think that's what I want. I'm selling that he will be coaching them.
Okay, that's good. I worded that poorly.
Maybe I'm buying. He's gonna be their coach, Alan.
And he's gonna be on the sidelines this weekend. Okay.
Yeah, no matter what the Big Ten. They may hand out a suspension here. I don't know, 2 games. Some people think it's got to be at least for the duration of the season to really have teeth. You can't suspend him for 2 of them to come back and coach Ohio State in the playoff. At the very least, it's got to be the 3 regular season games, I think. Maybe he comes back for the postseason. I don't know, but it's got to be at least through the Ohio State game. I think most people are really going to roll their eyes. So, yeah, and you know what? Even if the Big Ten does hand down that type of punishment, suspension, we've already seen stuff in the media how Michigan's going to react with some legal injunction to kick this down the road and allow Harbaugh to continue to work. So, yeah, I think at this point, the courts will get involved, and any suspension that's handed down is not going to be able to stick. And Jim Harbaugh is going to be able to stroll the sidelines before Michigan, probably for the duration of this season. And then who knows? Most people are already speculating he'll be out the door. So it's been a heck of a crazy sidebar story, Al. We again, fact is stranger than fiction. Stuff we can't anticipate or make up. These stories come up every year, and they just continue to fascinate America.
And yet there's also been some brought up. Are you buying or selling that Purdue will have to hold a press conference at some point in time to answer some questions about allegations which have been brought up, which to me, at least on the surface, I haven't looked at any reports, seem preposterous. I mean, in terms of sign stealing that Michigan or those around the program are claiming they might be. Are you buying or selling that's going to happen?
Well, there's I don't think so. There right now there's another storyline that's cropped up. There's been reporting done by the Associated Press and SportsIllustrated.com concerning Big Ten schools conspiring to decode Michigan signals last year, Alan.
Yes.
And they all
nothing about this year's staff, right?
No, nothing this year that involves the Ryan Walters staff. This is the Jeff Brom staff. No, every Big Ten staff. Because the allegations seem to indicate this has been was a far-ranging plot, at least in the eyes of Michigan people, for the rest of the Big Ten to gang up on little old Michigan, steal their signs, and then they allege that they were used against them in the Big Ten title game by Purdue. So again, these are all just far-reaching speculation and allegations and where any of this stuff goes, I have no idea. Right now, they're just media reports from an anonymous source. So there you go. Nothing for anybody to wring their hands about. And again, from everything I've read, I'm sure other people have read those stories too. There's nothing in those reports that indicate that the signs that were decoded were obtained illegally, which is the allegation against Michigan, which is what's illegal. So again, just yet another plot twist to what's already a fascinating story.
Yeah, it is that, and I think that we'll have more of that down the road. I'm sure that story is not.
I got one for you, Alan. I got a buy sell for you. Okay, Purdue's only had two guys run for 100 yards in a game this season. Devin Mockabee and Tyrone Tracy each have done it one time. Buy or sell the notion Purdue's going to get a 100-yard rusher Saturday when this thing kicks off at 3:30 Eastern time over there on Ross-Ade Stadium off Northwestern Avenue.
I'm going to hedge and say they will not. I would, if you'd have dropped that number to 75, I might have said, yeah. However, they will have a 100-yard rusher because somebody always runs for 100 yards against Indiana. How many Purdue running backs over the years have had Ray Wallace, some others that have had career days against the Hoosiers, even though the Hoosiers. So I think it'll be tough sledding, though. I think Purdue will run the football relatively effectively. But you know what? It's going to be another low over-under game, one would think, when Purdue and Minnesota play, because both offenses have really, really struggled.
And Alan, last week, Alan, maybe Purdue's most effective runner was Hudson Card.
Yeah.
I thought he hit some. I got a 20-yard run. He had some nice runs, some design draws, and maybe that's something we'll see a little bit more of.
Yeah, we shall see. All right, we're going to put a wrap on this. We've hit all the topics that we can hit in 1 week. That's not completely true, but it's partially true. And we appreciate all of you watching and listening on this Tuesday, Election Day, in around Indiana and around everywhere for mostly municipal elections, but that's what's going on here as well. So good day for it in Central Indiana. From that standpoint. All right, want to visit acrepro.com or call 765-775-6502. Make sure you talk to Kyle Spray. We appreciate them. And Tom, I appreciate all your expertise. Always good banter back and forth. We'll try this again a couple more times before the end of this season. and we'll have some fun with that. So have a great rest of the week, everybody, and lots of programming. You might also think about subscribing to goldandblack.com if you haven't already. Brian Newbert's doing pretty much daily videos. Basketball's in full bloom. Chad Crockover shooting every picture he can shoot. We're having some fun. What a great environment, by the way. You and I were both in Mackey last night. Fun environment. Somebody said, and I don't know if it was Brian, I'm not sure, Purdue played like it was angry, which might be a good thing. Played hard, and I'm not saying Samford is going to be the Boston Celtics under Red Auerbach, but Purdue took care of business. So we'll find out when our mutual friend Greg Christopher and the Fighting Xavier Musketeers come to town next Monday. That will be a first, probably Purdue's first real test of the regular season. So anyway, we'll look forward to that. A lot on the site this week, and thanks to all of you for watching, consuming us. I never get it right what Brian says, but we always appreciate that too.
Processing
our materials in the way that you process them. We appreciate that. So have a great week, everybody.